What's up, YouTube? Tech Guy Haji here, and in this video, what I'm going to be talking about is the good, the bad, and the totally ugly when it comes to iOS. I'm going to start off with the good and then work my way to the bad. Sorry, I might sound a bit ill because I am. So yeah, anyway, number one on the good list for iOS is one of the main things that people always say is the reason they don't want to move to Android or something else is the ecosystem. So if you're someone that's had iOS devices, has a Mac, has an iPad, has an iPhone, and is totally immersed in the whole Apple ecosystem, you'll know exactly what I'm saying. So, and especially since they introduced iCloud, which I think was in iOS 4. Yeah, iOS 4. So since then, what they've basically done... Wait, was it iOS 4? No, it was iOS 5. What am I saying? Yeah, iOS 5. So stupid. And I call myself a tech guy. Anyway, yeah, they introduced it in iOS 5. And what this basically does, if you don't know, is that basically it allows developers to integrate this into their apps. So if you've got Pages, Goodreader, and stuff like that, if you've got it saved on one device, and you've made some kind of change. Say I've got it on my iPhone, right? I'm looking at it on my iPhone. I made some kind of changes. I added something, and then it updates it on. If I've got that app, the same app on my iPad or on my Mac, it will update it throughout everywhere. Just like, basically, it's like Dropbox being available in every app. That's the best way I can explain it. If you've used Dropbox, you'll know what I mean. So if you make a change or if you save some kind of file somewhere, it syncs it throughout your devices. And this isn't only when it comes to apps. This is also with your contacts, with your emails, notes you've made. Notes are now syncing in iCloud. And just generally everything. When I say ecosystem, I don't only mean stuff getting synced throughout devices and stuff. Sometimes, like with me, I've been using an iPhone now for 2 years, and I've got my iPhone and my iPad. I've made, like, the settings and everything are in such a way that it's exactly the way I'd want my device to be, which helps me be more productive in my day-to-day life. And when people move to another platform, they have to do it from the ground up all over again. They have to set the phone up the way they want, this, that, and the other. And also, it's not only about the time you've invested, but also the money you've invested in the device. The amount of money you've paid out for apps, for music, for whatever music videos you've downloaded over the years, that adds up. And just saying goodbye to all of that and then moving to a different platform is a big thing for some people. So let's move on to number 2 before this video becomes incredibly long. Number 2, ease of use. Now this is something that iOS has been, well, not always, iOS has been praised about, is how easy it is to use. You can just pick up an iPhone, pick up an iPad, and you know what you're doing. You're just scrolling, tapping, scrolling, tapping. So the ease of use is another good thing when it comes to iOS, that you don't have to teach someone how to use it. You just say, okay, you spend 5 minutes explaining it to them and they just get on with it. And because it's so easy, if there is something that they get stuck on, they pick up on how to sort out that problem quite easily, because the way iOS has been made, and this is again going on to the simplicity of iOS, if you have a problem and you think maybe this is how you sort it out, most of the time it is, because sometimes in Android you think it's one way, but it's not the way you think it is. Especially with all these schemes that HTC and all these other Android phones put onto Android, the same thing is done in so many different ways on different handsets that it gets annoying at times. So with iOS, the simplicity plays a very major part of making iOS as successful as it has been. Number 3 is just the amount of apps that are available for iOS devices. I don't only mean for iPhones, I mean so many dedicated iPad, let me try saying that again. So many iPad specific apps that are on the App Store. You can't get that anywhere else at the moment. Windows Phone, Android, does BlackBerry count these days? I don't know. But let's just talk about Android and iOS, okay? Android has apps, and I'm not saying Android doesn't have apps, but now that they're making a lot of tablets, they don't have many tablet dedicated apps. They don't have apps which are designed specifically to be run on a tablet. This is where iOS is just running it totally. They're just running the game when it comes to tablet specified apps. You get so many apps made for iPads, made specifically for iPhones, and vice versa. Apps that are on the iPhone have been redesigned to work on the iPad, and you get my point. So, just the amount of apps that are available. If most of the time, if you think of doing something in terms of like, let me give you an example of something. Running your website from your iPhone or iPad, most of the time there will be an app for that. That's even become a phrase that someone says something, the other person will be like, I'm sure there's an app for that. Most of the time there is. Sometimes there isn't. Depends what you're trying to do. Like, there won't be an app which will make you your sandwich. There might be an app which tells you how to make a sandwich, but it won't do it for you. So yeah. But let's move on again. A lot of compatibility in iOS devices with accessories and stuff that comes out. Like, say if, I don't know, who's this? Who made my printer? HP. Say if HP release a new printer, for example. I'm just thinking this because that's the closest thing that I got next to me. So if okay, let's not take HP. If any company makes a new printer, they will make sure that it's AirPlay compatible, that you can print directly from your iPad or iPhone without having any problems. That's what I mean when it comes to compatibility. I don't just mean accessories. I don't mean cases, docking stations, stands, stuff like that. I mean other companies that make things who are making sure that in one way or another that the iOS devices are integrated into the way that the printer camera is used. This is a major thing as well, because back in the days, if you had a printer, it would just work with your computer and it will copy a few things and that's about it. You couldn't, if you had something on your phone you wanted to print, you'd email it to your computer and then print it off. Nowadays, it's become a must feature that your printer should be able to wirelessly print from iPads and iPhones. So that's another thing. And there are other accessories, like I saw on the Apple website, there's accessories which help you take your pulse, which help you check your blood pressure using your iOS device. That's not something you would have done a few years ago using your phone, but you can now. So that's the main good things. Now let's move on to the bad. Now this is where I'll get a lot of hate. So let me just burst your bubble right now. Let me just steal your thunder. Dislike as much as you want, go for it. The bad when it comes to iOS. No customization. Now, before you say anything that when I mean customization, I don't mean having little flowers falling onto my screen or having an animated wallpaper or stuff like that. I mean customization for the power user. I mean stuff that you get from Cydia. That's what I mean when it comes to customization. When I've seen Android running on a tablet, and for a power user, Android on a tablet is amazing because you have widgets everywhere. Because, okay, and I don't mean this as an insult, for the average user, they will look at one screen at a time, one application at a time. Like, they'll open up their weather, check their weather, okay, check their stocks if they've got stocks. But yeah, open their notes, look at what kind of notes they've got, and etc. etc. But the power user, they want to check their weather, check their stocks, look at their notes, all within the blink of an eye. And Android allows you to do that with their widgets. Because I can have a clock widget, I can have a weather widget, I don't know, I'm not that familiar when it comes to Android, but I'm sure they've got some widget that lets you look at all your notes. I know there's a widget that lets you look at your emails. That's what I mean when it comes to customization. I don't mean pretty little things that make your iPad look 10 times better than the person next to you, with little flowers dropping down and animated wallpapers. That's not what I mean. I mean stuff for the power user. I mean exactly what I said. I want to be able to look at my emails, look at my notes, check the weather, check the time, without having to open 2 or 3 apps just to get that done. I'd be able to look at it on the home screen within a blink of an eye. Sorry, I'm talking a bit fast. It's a habit. Next thing, the UI. It is an apple here getting a bit long in the tooth. It is. It's become a bit annoying. It was good at first. It was simple. People loved the whole scrolling thing, but now it's just getting annoying. People are looking at Android and thinking, why is iOS not becoming even 10% of what Android has become? And I know they updated it with the what was it called? With the notification center, where they have small little weather widgets and so on and so forth. But that's not enough now. That is really not enough. People were expecting an overhaul in iOS 6. It didn't happen. iOS 7, it won't happen. iOS 8, you'll be lucky. But yeah. So that's what I mean. I'm sick and tired of these bloody rows and rows of icons. I'm sick of it. I want more. Like I said with the whole customization thing, we need to target this to the simple consumer, but also to power users. Now this could be going a bit far, but I would go as far as to say, maybe when you turn your iPad or iOS device on for the first time, you get an option. Advanced user or basic user. So if you're the basic user, you get the same iOS you've been used to with the icons and all that stuff, and grid, and the little grid layout. And then if you click on advanced user, you get a totally different operating system. And I know people will just click on advanced user and try getting used to it, but some people might find it a bit overwhelming. They might try it out for a bit and then they can switch it over. That's another option they could have in settings, that you can switch from one to the other. But seriously, they need to start catering for the power user a bit more. I know there's apps which are aimed at power users, but I mean, I should be able to turn my device on. And like I said, weather, emails, time, everything should be there. I don't have people these days, and myself, are getting very busy. I don't have time to open 6-7 apps to check things that I could do on an Android device while just looking at the screen. So that's another thing, and I know this video is going long. I can just feel it. And I've already talked about this now, but I made a note of saying start thinking about power users. So that's basically what I talked about in the customization section, when I said that Apple need to start thinking about the power user when it comes to iOS. And I don't mean, when I say power user, I don't mean that, I should have a Mac equivalent operating system on my iPad. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, start thinking about people that want to get a lot done in a short period of time. Yes, grids were fun the first 3-4 times, but now it's just getting annoying. Sort it out, Apple, and then maybe the list of bad things might decrease. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you again another time in another video. Be sure to subscribe. I've got something coming in for review tomorrow. It's an iPad case, so if you have an iPad, be sure to check that out. Subscribe, and I will see you again, like I said, another time in another video. Take care.